In this video, I will be explaining and testing the differences between a street tyre, a track tyre, and, well, a super track tyre. The street tyre is this. It is the Continental ExtremeContact Sport 02. And if you don't know that tread pattern, don't worry. Think of it as the American version of the Sport Contact 7. It is a different tyre, but they're essentially related. Now, as a street tyre, it has to do lots of things well. Not only does it need to grip well in the dry, obviously we're talking about that today, it needs to grip well in the wet. It needs to remove standing water if you hit a puddle on the road. It needs to have reasonable comfort levels. It needs to have a reasonable rolling resistance level. And it has to last 30,000 miles because that's what the treadwear warranty is. Sadly, none of those things help dry performance. To get wet performance, you add silica to the compound, but that reduces the dry grip and it doesn't like getting too hot. If you want a tyre to last 30,000 miles, well, we know it's an inverse correlation between tread life and dry grip. If you want a low rolling resistance tyre, you're generally using a compound that doesn't have as much grip. And if you want to evacuate lots of water, you need stuff like this, tread depth and grooves, which is great for moving water, but it means the blocks move around a lot more, giving you like a squirmier feeling, and it doesn't have the thermal capacity or the rubber in contact with the road to generate the grip. So it's just one big compromise, and while this is one of the very best street tyres in the segment, it's just not as focused as these on track. Obviously, tyre companies know the drawbacks of a street tyre on the track. There's many benefits, which we'll get to, but they know there are some drawbacks. So for people who want to enjoy driving more on track or do it more often, there's this segment of tyres. Now, these are both 200 treadwear category tyres. It's a segment of treadwear tyres in the US. It's got a bit convoluted. It might be a story for another video because it's kind of lost its meaning. So essentially, the short version is it's now fractured into at least two categories. One's the Endurance 200 and one's the Super 200. We have one of each. The Endurance 200 is this. It's the Continental ExtremeContact Force. Now, the Endurance 200 is meant to give you stable lap times, lap after lap. The Continental ExtremeContact Force is never claimed to be the fastest 200 in its segment, but the feedback I get from race weekends I go to and people using this tyre, they're like, it just goes on forever and your first lap is as good as your last lap. That's very important, which we will get onto later in the video. Now, comparing it, these are essentially brothers, they're both from Continental. Comparing it, you can see how vastly different their intents are. This thing has less water evacuation, although it still has quite a lot for its class. It has a lower starting tread depth. It's meaner, more focused looking. And if you want to squish them to talk about comfort, look, there's quite a lot of deflection in that tyre, whereas this one, I can barely make it flinch. This is a stiff tyre, and I've tested it before. I know the guys from Tyre Rack like it. TJ loves this tyre subjectively, and Andy from Grassroots Motorsport. And subjectiveness is something we're going to talk about more. But does it get more focused? Obviously it does. We have this. This is the Hoosier Track Attack Pro. Hoosier think this is the fastest 200 in this segment, and they've done some very interesting things to ensure that.
As you can see from the Geek stats, the Track Attack Pro starts with 530 seconds tread depth compared to 730 seconds for the ExtremeContact Force and 930 seconds for the street tyre, giving the Track Attack Pro a further advantage in the dry. It's also the lightest tyre by an impressive margin and is the only tyre with a 4-ply sidewall.
Hoosier say it is faster than a Cup 2R. I'm going to be testing it in a week, so hit subscribe and the bell icon to be the first to see that. I'm very excited for it. But in theory, this tyre should be even more focused from this because it's less void, less tread depth, even stiffer on the sidewall with the 4-ply sidewall. It is just a focused, race-inspired carcass, race-inspired compound. I'm very excited to see what this can do. Before we start this test, I just want to mention, I'm not using the Tyre Reviews F80 M3. I'm actually using another M4 GT4, which is incredible. The guys at the BMW Performance Driving School have supported this test. This isn't an advert, it's not sponsored, but they did let me use one of their GT4s for this test, and they are supporting the Cup 2R versus this test, which will be the next video on the channel, I think. Go give them some love. You can pay to drive the GT4 you're about to see on the track you're about to see at Thermal. It's very good value for money. The instructors are all excellent. Go give them some love because they really do help me do this tyre testing, which is really good information for the market. So linked in the description, go check them out. For now, let's get on with the test. Okay, how have these tyres performed on track? Well, I'm using an M4 GT4. Thank you so much again to the BMW Performance Driving School. You can pay money to come and drive this car, and you absolutely should. It's a fabulous day out and all the instructors are unbelievable. But anyway, I started the day with the ECF, the 200 endurance tyre. And this tyre behaved exactly as the name would indicate. Its steering, I've already said it's a stiffly constructed tyre, its steering is unbelievable. Like, it's so reactive and so quick to steer, the quickest of the three. Its lap times were also super consistent. Wasn't the fastest tyre of the bunch, but nor did we expect it to be, obviously. It's an endurance, not a super. But I was running 126s on the first lap, did 5 or 6 laps. My final lap before coming in to do pressures was with a 126, 7 or 8. The pressures had gone up quite a lot after the warm-up. So we came back out, put them down, I came back out, and I was back in the 126s. So like a nice, safe, easy time. Then I switched to the ExtremeContact Sport 02. Now you're like, whoa, this is a street tyre on an M4 GT4. Well, firstly, remember a GT4 is just a road car with some weight reduced, and this is a very, very special road car, but it isn't a prototype race car or anything like that. And the ECS02 is used as the wet tyre for the WRL, which this car runs in. So it has a place on this car. And you know what? I don't really want to admit this, but on the outlap, so the program was come out, do 3 laps, slowly building up, come in, set pressures, go out, do another 6 laps, come in, reset pressures, and then do another couple of laps just to see what it was like with the pressures reset. And I thought I was moving to the Track Attack Pro. I was going down the back straight for the first time, and I was like, okay, the steering's a little bit more sluggish, but we know the ExtremeContact Force has incredible steering, so maybe I won't hold this against the Track Attack Pro. And then obviously the first bit of braking is light braking as you're heating up the tyres. And then I was like, coming out the corners on the throttle, I was like, oh, this is loose, maybe it's taking a little bit longer to warm up. And then as I built up some speed and hit the brakes for the first time properly, I was like, oh, this is definitely the street tyre. And you know what? I say that definitely the street tyre. Its first lap was only about a second down on the ExtremeContact Sport Force, the 200 endurance, but then as it got hot, it dropped maybe another second and a half. I don't actually have all the times memorized because we're going at this really quickly. But then it stabilized, and you know what? As a tyre that's good in the wet, you can drive on the street, it's got a tread life warranty. I thought it was incredible on track. I thought I was going to be saying this tyre falls off super fast, it gets really, really greasy, but it really didn't. It did get greasy initially, but then it stabilized and it wasn't that down on time. So good job with the street tyre. And then I went to the Track Attack Pro. Yes, this is a 200, but this is what we call a Super 200. And on the outlap, on the warm-up laps, when I'm still driving under the limit of the tyre, I was getting green on the data logger, which means you're going faster than reference, which was the fastest lap on the ExtremeContact Force. Holy smoke! You had to recalibrate your brain, how deep you could brake into the corners, how hard you could get on the throttle out of the corners, and most dramatically, how hard you could turn while at essentially full braking. I have a gauge here telling me how much brake pressure I'm putting through the brake pedal, and to get hard into the ABS on the ExtremeContact Force was about 50 kilos of brake pressure. I glanced, I was definitely doing nearly 70 on the Track Attack Pro, which is a huge difference. I was braking probably 50 meters later, which is ridiculous. But the way you could also attack the surface on the first couple of laps, like you could drive more, because even on the ExtremeContact Force, I'm still waiting on the throttle a little bit before I really get on it out of the corners. But the Track Attack Pro was just like bang, go, bang, stop. It was an unbelievable experience. And the lap time, holy smoke, the first lap was 3 seconds faster than anything the ExtremeContact Force could do. And 3 seconds is a huge amount of time around this track, bearing in mind it's mostly hard braking zones. But what's the downside of this Super 200 tyre? It's incredibly quick. Well, it gets hot, and then the lap time does drop off a little bit. It kind of stabilized about a second and a half down by lap 3, which is a second half. That is quite a lot of time when you consider that still a second and a half faster than the other 200 tyre. Incredible. The other difference is, well, as for just like sub-limit steering behavior, this car flatters all the tyres. And as I said, I thought the ECF was probably going to be the sharpest. You know what, it probably was. I mean, the Track Attack Pro just makes you feel alive. And although like the initial steering reaction of the Track Attack Pro as you turn in, it might have been like 1% softer than the ExtremeContact Force, but the way it dug in and gave you the ability to just turn harder and harder in the corner as you're trail braking, like I was taking a different line accidentally because you can just trail brake so far into this big braking zone at the end of the straight. So each of the tyres has their own personality. Don't get me wrong, the street tyre did incredibly well, but it's not the fastest. The endurance tyre, I was doing 126s, 126 1s, 126 2s constantly, and I did a rerun at the end of the session and it was right back to a 126 2. So that tyre can just do the same lap time day in, day out. But if you want to be the big boy on track, if you want to be the very fastest guy there is, I don't think there's much that can beat the Track Attack Pro at the moment. Holy smoke, it feels like it's just in a different ballpark. So hugely impressive, but let's go on and try and round up the video now. If you skip through the in-car section, I'll quickly recap with the correct times on screen, as my memory perhaps wasn't the best in the car. It was very hot and a long day. The street tyre, well, it was impressively fast on its first lap, especially when you consider that it's a little bit narrower than the other two tyres. I know this isn't ideal, but this is how they run it on the GT4s in WRL. As predicted in the introduction, the tyre did get hot and lap times did fall off a little, and a small amount of the predictability waned, but the tyre never got bitey and it remained easy to drive. The Endurance 200, well, it did exactly as predicted. I really loved this experience as it allowed me to focus on what I was doing rather than what the tyre was doing every lap. And the Super 200, well, it's such an incredible experience. It's so fast and so grippy and makes you feel like such a hero. After I finished my laps, I had one of the BMW instructors do some, and his experience was exactly the same. He said the ECF could go on all day and the Track Attack Pro lost about a second when hot. But most importantly, it was just as fast on his first few laps as it was for me. So there wasn't some new tyre magic I had because I went out on stickers. If anything, it held on a little bit better in its second session with regards to heat degradation. So which tyre is best for you? I'm confident that a driver of any level could drive any of these tyres and have a really great day, but there are some pros and cons of each. While the street tyre isn't the fastest or the most stable of the three, it is still hugely capable, and I think for the majority of drivers it's more than enough to go and enjoy your car on track. It finished the day still looking incredibly fresh, and if you're not pushing the vehicle to 100% at every corner on every lap as I was, the heat build-up's going to be less of an issue too. Also, thermal was about 100 Fahrenheit, which is about 38 degrees on test day, which further compounded the heat issue. The big win for the street tyre is the ease of use. If you have a fun car, you've probably got a street summer tyre on it, go to track and use it and just see how you like it and enjoy the experience. As your skills develop from just having fun on track to trying to be perfect on track, which honestly does take some of the fun away, the Endurance 200 does come into its own. This tyre, this one in particular, allows you to spend a full day on track focusing on improving your driving without the distraction, as you can rely on the tyre to be giving you mostly the same experience lap after lap. Trust me when I say there is nothing more frustrating than being a second down on your third lap when you feel like you've not made any errors. You're like, what's going on? Why? It takes a lot of experience to know when it's not your driving but the tyre. The ExtremeContact Force removes this variable, which is just so nice. It can't be underestimated. As for the Super 200, the Hoosier Track Attack Pro, if you want to be the fastest person at the event, there's no way around it. This is the tyre for you. Fast tyres can often be difficult to drive, but in this case, Hoosier have made a really fast tyre also really friendly and drivable, which is a super impressive combination. The downsides of the Super 200s, well, you do have a peak first lap and then the times do fall off a little with heat, but even its slowest lap was still significantly faster than the Endurance 200's fastest lap. And as I said, after a small break, it was right back up to its top pace. So it's a tyre that wants to work with you. You do have to manage it a little bit more than this though. It's obviously not going to last as long as an endurance tyre, but it also finished the day looking pretty fresh, and we did 20 or so hard laps, so it's not a one-track day and it's over. This thing will do laps.
Here's a quick early preview of a cheat sheet style grading system I'm developing for track tyres. Let me know if there's anything missing you'd like to see.
And that's everything. Subscribe to be the first to see the Track Attack Pro versus the Cup 2R. That's going to be a really interesting test. Let me know which of these tyres you've chosen or will choose in the future or have experience with. Always interested to hear about it. Any questions, please ask below. Go book yourself into the BMW Performance Driving School. It's linked in the description. Honestly, it's the best money you'll probably ever spend. And as always, safe motoring.